He's doing the PhD from the Johannes Kepler University in Linz, Austria. Austria, and it's like 3 a.m. Basically right now over there. But so we are very, very lucky to have him to join us. So I would like to invite the moderator for the panel discussions sessions, Mr. Terence Ng. Please the join me on the stage. Thank you. And I would like to also welcome Mr. Christopher Fat Nguyen, our professional learning manager from Britannica Asia, to join me on the stage as well. Um, the next one is our excuse me, our panelist who's joining us online, Mr. Wahid Yunianto, who is joining online via Zoom, and then we're gonna get him connected. He's already in our Zoom session already. We're just going to get him connected so that he can join you, and you all of you can hear from him as well. Now, gentlemen, please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Sure. Good morning and Saudi Cup. Ladies and gentlemen, as team leaders, learned colleagues online as well, and all the especially spending time with us in this Saturday morning, right? My name is Terence Ng, and I'm the commercial director for Britannica Education Asia. Today's discussion is all about the ecosystem of empowerment. Is designed for you, the architects of our school. And more importantly, what we're looking at today is looking at how are we bridging, the ground level leadership, specifically with evidence-based research to guide your strategic decisions. Some of the things that we're looking at, and when you leave here, is that number one, a clear leadership priority. Number two, a framework for building supportive structures based on data. And number three, literally, a research perspective on AI, measurable impact and critical pitfalls, right? So, guiding us first, we have Mr. Christopher Fat Nguyen, who is an educational leader and curriculum innovator dedicated to creating future-ready learning environments. And correct me if I'm wrong, of course. He has led academic teams in implementing progressive curriculum strategies, personalized learning approaches, and inclusive pedagogy. Currently working with us in Britannica Education, Christopher designs professional learning initiatives that help educators integrate technology and evidence-based practices in classrooms worldwide, actually. Yeah, his expertise spans from English language teaching, teacher development, and strategic school leadership. Passionate about the role of AI and digital tools in education, he champions technology as a complement, not a replacement for human connection, ensuring students gain creativity, critical thinking, and more importantly, from global competencies for success in an evolving world. And we have Mr. Wahid Yunianto. I believe he is joining us from Austria, um, whose career beautifully embodies the journey from classroom to policy making and to systemic research. He began as a mathematics teacher, giving him a grounded understanding of pedagogical realities. He then served as a consultant for Indonesia's Ministry of Education and Culture, National Educational Strategy and Policy. Currently, he is advancing in the frontier of evidence-based practice as a PhD researcher at the Johannes Kepler University, Linz in Austria, focusing on integrating computational thinking into mathematics education. This unique trajectory from teacher to policy advisor to academic researcher gives him a very rare insight, yeah? And very, very invaluable triple perspective of how technology truly impacts learning and systems at scale. So, may I open the floor to Christopher first, right?
Certainly.
Um, so, as a school leader, I think more importantly, what core operational belief guided you or your decision into adopting AI? I think many of you are in this space as well. And what type of challenge in school were you seeking to address?
I think this is the core question for anyone in schools, teachers and leaders alike. We know teachers are an incredibly busy and hardworking and dedicated group of people. And I think most operational leaders in schools, when they examine something of this nature, will be looking primarily for the efficiency and the time saving side. But when we talk about time saving for teachers, it's not just as simple as time back. Teachers need to be armed to be efficient, and it's a support tool. So when I examine AI and AI's role in its deployability in schools, it's how can this tool A enhance the learning outcomes in a classroom, and how can it B help our teachers to be more effective with their time. But what became clear with AI is that it wasn't like deploying the new solutions that, because education solutions, they come and they go pretty quickly. And bringing solutions into schools, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But AI proved itself it was going to be a more complicated beast. Um, so most tools, they come and they save time or they don't, and it's clear. But AI kind of became very scattershot within schools. And in some instances, it was saving time, but then there was the other side, and I think the majority of the side was it was creating more problems than it solved. When we're discussing open source tools, the reliability kind of flew out the window pretty quickly, in my experience. The trustworthiness of what we were putting in front of our students became really problematic, and it became problematic quickly. And there was also this problem as it's a technology, and I think most teachers will have experienced this, is that students are not silly. And students often are at the forefront of technology before schools and teachers catch up. So in some of the experiences I saw, we had students running rings around us in their use of AI, and it almost became completely impossible to control. So the students were using AI, the policy frameworks didn't exist, the teacher training was missing or not implemented. So AI, it was the tail wagging the dog analogy slightly, is that AI was driving in a way where the teacher should be driving. And the operational problem was how to flip that narrative back, and give teachers the control and teachers the tools they needed to manage the students in this 24-hour digital world, and to manage this new tool. Because I think most tools, they don't need, or they haven't in the past needed management in the same way AI needs management. AI is almost like introducing a whole new department in your institution. It needs integrated, and it needs controlled, and it needs a framework and a plan. It's not like introducing a new textbook. This is a very, very different monster that is being dealt with, and it evolves so quickly that it's impossible to keep up with it. If we look at, the open source tools, I mean, one of the famous one, they've blown through 4 editions in the last 6 months, and each one has been radically stronger and radically different than the last. And this thing, the strength of them and how they are increasing their power and their abilities at such a speed, it's just unprecedented and unseen. And the tech world is struggling to keep up, and so we can't expect busy teachers who have to teach their students in whatever context they have to do their preparation, their marking, their support. So how can we expect our teachers to keep up with this? And we need to prepare them, and we need to arm them with appropriate tools, that actually assist and actually add value in a classroom and don't run away from us.
Thank you. It's pretty interesting. I mean, some of these obstacles, challenges has been being faced. And I'm sure I've seen some of you been nodding your heads as well at the same time. Pak Wahid, can you hear me very clearly? Yeah. Yeah. And
Yes.
so I've got a question for you, of course. I mean, from your meta view, across numerous studies, what does the aggregate data tells us is the most consistent promise of AI in education? And what is the most frequently documented concern, specifically from your end?
Well, thank you. From research, we still need a lot of thing to investigate
Just on the laptop.
because
So,
can you
Pawahid,
hear
can you
me?
give us a second, just because we've got technical difficulty of hearing you.
Okay.
Okay, good to go.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, this is how it works when we deal with technology. Somehow we need to fix something. Yes, based on the research, we still need a lot of thing to do. We need more investigations. But for sure, I will share some of statistic from this research that have investigated the use of AI in educations. Is it okay now?
There's some echo. We're trying to sort this out.
Shall I continue?
Just give us a second.
Hello.
I think this is much better. Yeah, Pak Wahid, you can go ahead.
Yes, so for instance, from the research finding, the the investigations from students still dominates the research, and yeah, teachers comes after. Yeah, but this is still good when we do the research on both areas from the students and then from the teachers. And also we have a lot of investigation how AI can support students learning gains. And yes, we have also the the challenges as well when we use or when we utilize AI in educations, and the thing that we need to concern and to be wise about its usage. For instance, ethical issues, data privacy, bias, and etc. We will discuss further during this panel, but so far from research, we still need a lot of things to do because AI is still evolving, getting better and better, as like Mr. Nguyen said before. So let's talk about it in this panel.
Thank you, Pak Wahid. And bear with us for the moment, of course, the technical difficulty. Yeah, but we can hear you pretty well. Um, this interplay with between a leader's operational hypothesis and the researcher's empirical evidence, right, defines that ecosystem. Um, in one sentence, I'm just probably going to start off with Christopher first, right? In one sentence, what is the most significant gap between the research on AI's potential and even the current reality in most schools? I'm just going to start off with Christopher first before we go on getting your response from Pak Wahid. Yeah, so Christopher?
Do I really only have one sentence?
More than that, absolutely. You can have more.
I think the practicality is always the gap. And the kind of the practice and the when the rubber hits the road, does it actually function? And what we're finding is, yeah, the research and the kind of the grand vision and the potential of AI is one thing, but yeah, when you get it into a school and into a classroom, the reality is quite different. And I think the gap is the evolution speed. Um, and when I say that's the gap, it's because the evolution, like you just said, is the evolution is running so quickly that it's just impossible to keep up with it. You know, there's a new tool, and even teaching specific tools. There seems to be a new teaching AI tool every week appearing on the market, um, and this is the problem. So the gap is actually the policy and the practice in a school. We need to as a region, as diverse and complicated as the Asian region, we need to find a policy framework that manages and empowers and doesn't focus solely on the potential and what's next. It needs to be grounded in the right now practicalities, not what's coming 2, 3, 4 months down the road, because we just can't be expected to keep up with that hamster wheel.
Thanks, Christopher. Pak Wahid, your response
Yes.
on that?
Yes,
So I
from
was
the
actually
research.
asking.
Mhm. One
Yeah,
sentence?
go ahead, Pak Wahid.
Okay. So, from research perspective, as we will do research with students and also with teachers, while students is more tech savvy, like more like they are smarter or faster in using the this emerging technology than the teachers or older generations. So we cannot wait until the teachers are ready to use it, but at the same times we need to support and prepare them how to maximize and wisely utilize this tool to support student learning. The thing is still the center of the research should optimize or to maximize student learning with this tool.
Thank you, Pak Wahid. Christopher, let's start with execution and implementation, right? Walk us through, some of your resource allocation. As I mean, you were a principal before, and absolutely an education practitioner before. So, in the early days, obviously, I mean, when you were with a principal with the school, how specifically around generative AI, or now, of course, back then, in AI adoption, how did you actually support people, practices, and tools together? You spoke a little bit about that early on, but again, what science helped you know that it was actually making a measurable difference and outcome, right?
So I think that's two parts. So let's start with how do we begin? And we all know in working in international school environments or even Thai national schools, faculties are diverse and complicated. They have different opinions, different worldviews. They are coming from different countries, different perspectives. If you're becoming aware that there's a generative AI problem or it's not being managed well in your school, I think the very simple way is you need to stick everyone in a room and have an open conversation. Who's doing what, what's working, and what's not? It's three very simple questions. But with the evolution of tools, and tools are emerging onto the market all the time, so it's impossible for school leadership to track who's doing what and how is it working. So yeah, three steps. You put everyone in a room, you ask them who is doing it, because some won't be, and that's fine. What are you doing, and where is it working, and where is it not? And if you can establish those core answers, then you can start to build a framework and how to move it forward. What was the second part of your question?
I was talking about what science actually helped you know that it was making any of this difference.
So the signals you should be looking for are actually honesty, because in academics, everyone's always looking for kind of the next way route, the fastest way. Students want this, they want to save time. Teachers want to manage classroom outcomes, and I think the clearest signal that AI is being well managed is if you can keep the principles of inquiry-based learning in one piece. Um, a lot of people, and the problem with uncontrolled AI is that inquiry-based learning goes out the door pretty quickly, because it gives you your answers. You say, hey, robot, answer my homework for me, it will. Whether or not it's good or not is another matter. Now, a good teacher will always be able to tell in about 2 sentences if a student's work is their work or not. But this is unmanageable. Teachers are doing it, and AI is getting smarter, so AI is able to replicate tone now. So it's becoming harder and harder. So my key thing, if AI is working in a school, IBL, inquiry-based learning, should still be a central tenet, and the measurements of inquiry-based learning should all still be trackable and easy to see within classroom outcomes.
Thanks, Christopher. Again, I think a lot of it's around change management as well, right? I mean, it's pretty key to that. And who was your most, or what was your most effective strategy, specifically around cultivating teacher buy-in? Because you mentioned about gathering them in, being very honest about it, and shifting that culture of skepticism to, if there's any, to engagement, right? Did you use pilot groups? Do you use champion networks? Or anything else? What's that?
So my suggestion for this is perhaps a little on the radical side, but what we found to be working, and so I've speaking to some of our partner schools and my own experience, the bottom-up strategy is working. And if you start with the students and you bring it out the dark, you give them permission to use it, you set guardrails. And if you hear my workshop later on this afternoon, it's going to be speaking a lot about the structures and the frameworks to bring it out the cupboard. Because right now AI exists in this kind of gray area. Some people allow it, some people don't. People are scared of it, they're not confident with it. But what we've been finding actually is if you give that permission, you say, yes, you can use it, but here are the rules. And you start that at the student body level, it then comes out. It becomes manageable for teachers. The teachers know what's going on, the teachers can see it, and it builds a culture of trust around it. So you can openly communicate about the problems. And that then in turn allows the leadership to understand how it's behaving within a school, how it's affecting the classrooms, and how the behavior with AI and the interaction between the human and the computer is contributing or hindering. So when you bring it out the cupboard, you make it controllable and manageable. Keeping it in the cupboard, it's out of control. Students are going to use it at home, whether you want them to or not. So why not bring it out? Say, yes, we recognize this. Yes, you can use it, but here are the rules. That's the most effective way to control it.
Yeah. Again, from an educational leader's perspective, right? You also face a lot of unforeseen risk, and I'm sure many of you here reflect upon that. Would you be able to describe like a significant operational challenge that you face, be it from a tool failing, a system failing, staff capability gap as well, equity issues, or there's no infinite resources, as we all know. How do you actually respond and adapt towards that, specifically around these areas?
The biggest operational risk, I mean, we're teachers, so the learning is the operation. So when I say operational risk, I mean the learning risk. But the biggest risk to this is the inaccuracy and the hallucination patterns that that do go on within AI. Because AI, it speaks with great authority. Teachers can meter their tone. Teachers can have a conversation, but AI speaks with absolute certainty and authority. And this causes hallucinations. As adults with kind of, fully formed cognitive brains, we are able to not 100%, but we are more skilled. We can pick up when something's wrong. Subject matter expert teachers can pick up when information is wrong. But students, they're not armed with the information. So how can we expect our students to know when something's wrong when they're learning? Because that's what a teacher does. A teacher says that's wrong, but AI never does that. So this is the problem. And this is the operational risk, is that your students are now being incorrectly educated. And that's no fault of any human being. That's just the way AI operates. And mitigation in this is very, very challenging. And this is why I say it has to be brought out the cupboard, because then you can mitigate. And what part of Britannica's key messaging and our core tenets is the human in the loop. AI is not replacing teachers. And anyone who says it is just flat out wrong. I don't say many things with absolute certainty, but anyone who says AI should or could replace teacher is absolutely wrong. The human in the loop mindset of AI in education is vital, and it's going to keep becoming more and more vital as we move further through this roller coaster journey of the AI era. And what we can do with that methodology, that is the mitigation. The human being is the mitigation, okay? If you attach the central principles of inquiry-based learning to a teacher and you attach that on top of AI as a management strategy, then we have genuine risk mitigation. We can understand where AI falls down and we can admit its weaknesses. Because we're all teachers, okay? Everyone in the room is a teacher, and the core idea of teaching is that we're all lifelong learners, okay? We want to keep learning, we want to keep making ourselves better. And that's what we need to do with AI, but we need the teachers to train it and the teachers to control how this is working. And this is how we mitigate the central risk of incorrect information.
Thank you, Chris. And on to Pak Wahid, let's bring in the data. From your work, what key statistical correlations are emerging? For instance, when we talk about implementation of with very, very strong support, right? What impact on teacher workload or student engagement metrics does the research show?
Okay, well, can you also show the slide that I have?
Give me a second. Go ahead. I think you're muted.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay,
okay,
so
we can hear you now.
okay, so this is from the research. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so students area dominate the research, and then next, can we go next? Uh, Yes, mostly we deal with student in higher educations because like it is easy to do to deal with the ethical issues with research participant. I think when we do the research with school students, we need a lot of ethical issues that we need to handle. So therefore, the study with school students is less than in higher education or in teacher educations or with adults. And then we comes to the next one. So there are more gaps that we need to do research with this area, especially with students in the school, I think. And then for the disciplines, for instance, the language education still dominates, like the other disciplines such as humanities is less, social study is less, mathematics is quite good. Maybe it is included in science educations. ICT, of course, it is really fun in terms of the discipline that can integrate the use of AI or generative AI. And then next, um, I'm from STEAM educations. I'm teaching and I'm working with mathematics, and I'm happy that in my field in mathematics, mathematic teachers and students they already use a lot of AI in their teaching and learning. Meanwhile, other STEAM subjects are less than mathematics. That's why we still need a lot of things to do to to further investigate this area. For instance, biology or science, engineering as well. Next, and then this is from my research also, my research finding. When I utilize ChatGPT, I work with teachers at the school and also I work with students and I provide them with AI. When my main focus to let student to be active learner, assistants can be the assistants. It is not just the one that provide you answer, but you can communicate with them. When the AI, in this case ChatGPT, provide my students with correct answer or correct responses or codes, for instance, because I'm dealing with computational thinking, they will give us codes or programs. With this program, students can learn the pattern of this program and input it to the programming environment that I provided also. In this case, I use GeoGebra, and then it can successfully create the object or create the mathematical object. And in this case, my students get the support to develop their algorithm thinking or algorithm skills. Meanwhile, when ChatGPT cannot provide student fully correct answer or it is partially incorrect or totally or completely incorrect, we still can make use of it. So students will, for instance, will communicate further, will deal with this prompting. So need to prompt again, need to provide more information. So good prompting is important to be taught or to be prepared for students, so they can communicate further, they can debug, so they can improve the other computational thinking skill, as I mentioned, debugging and also abstraction as well. Let's go to the next slides. So when we talk about the statistics, this many studies have explored the benefit that we could get when we use AI. For instance, we have like 102 studies that explore the learning gain. So will we believe on this or not? Because we still I mean, like, we still exploring, and then a lot of studies says that it can support the learning gains. And then also the next one, we can get the students motivations. And then we also face some challenges, like for instance here, like, it is the same like when we got introduced with a calculator at that time. So teachers, educators were afraid of the reliance or dependency on this calculator. It comes now also with this AI. So will be our students or even teachers becoming dependent on these tools? So everything, look the answer in the ChatGPT or whatsoever generative AIs. Will we be dependent on this tool or not? So I think the answer is no. We should still using our critical thinking to decide things or to learn things. And then also we have challenges also with ethical issues. Maybe some of us already mentioned about the ethical issues, like I'm using it with school student as well. So I need to make sure that I will not collect students' data privacy. Like, data is very important here. We need to protect and make it safe for our students because they are under 15 maybe. So I use the safe environment. I use a safe platform that utilize AI, and then I didn't collect their data, but I still can let them to use it optimally, and then I still can see what they wrote on the system because this is very important. So I can see what they have communicated with the AI that I provided. So it is very important. It is rich of data. I can understand why they didn't get the correct answer, why they got the correct answer. Okay, can we go to the next one? So when we use AI in the STEM educations or in the STEM fields, like from the student side and then from the teacher side, students can engage with cognitive engagement, with behavior engagement, and relevance engagement. All of these three engagement are important, and AI can support students with this engagement. And from the teachers, when the teachers got the support to develop the content, to develop lesson plan, they perceive positive thing from the AI, like their workload become easier. For instance, they can do also automatic assessment with AI. We take a pictures of our student work and ask AI to help us to correct, to assess. We got a lot of help with this. So it is good thing that the teachers also perceive a positive thing from the use of AI. And then maybe we can go further. So our colleagues in Hong Kong did kind of a survey with the teachers there, and then this comprised of some AI competencies for teachers as well as for researchers as well. Here, the finding is positive, like there is no gender difference between the old teacher and the young teachers, and the male and female teachers. There is no significant difference, which is that is good because usually some of research that use the digital technology, male performs or engage better with this kind of tool. But this research is like showing good thing that there is no gap or difference between male and female teachers. Okay, but with this self-assessment questionnaires, you can also learn how you understand the AI. For instance, the first point, the knowledge of AI or AEK. So, and then the AEA is about the ethicals and etc. And then, yeah, you can use it for assessments, student engagement, learning designs, and whatsoever until the nine dimensions. Okay. And then to also, my colleague here also investigate AI TPAC. Previously, we just have like TPAC. Now we have like AI TPAC, and then what contribute to this teacher knowledge of the use of AI TPAC? Teachers need to have like AI TCK that will dominate the or will contribute more here, and also AI PCK, which is also important. And all of these things we still need to get to investigate deeper and further. I will get back to you.
Thank you, Pak Wahid. That's a lot of statistics there. I love data. And of course, beyond the hype, Pak Wahid, what does rigorous research identify as the most underestimated risk? Is it the privacy issue, algorithmic bias, the potential for increased inequity, or is it something else? Can you cite a finding from there?
Yes, from the previous table that I provided, like the ethical issues with the use of AI is still like not so many. That this is very important to be investigated further, because we don't want that AI like spy on us, like collect all of our private life. Even it is dangerous when I saw a video when I asked when somebody asked the AI whether or not I'm wearing um, something, and then AI can say the correct answer. So meaning the camera is still recording our activities. So it is dangerous. So we need to investigate further how students, especially students, because if we work with the school students, we need to protect them. We don't want to create some harms to them. So it is very important when we conduct research. It is very difficult because the use of AI, mostly it is like above 15 years old that they can use or even create account. Maybe it depends on the country policy. In German or in here, they have like they have like a statewise policy that they have created a special AI environment. But in other country, maybe they don't have it yet, but I hope they have the policy how to use the AI safely.
Thank you, Pak Wahid. Based on global studies, right, what are the identifiable characteristics of schools or even systems where AI integration is leading to measurable positive outcomes? Is it more of leadership, pedagogy, or even infrastructure?
So pedagogy is very important, as I'm showing from these connections, the AI TPEC, because AI PCK is pedagogical content knowledge, and it is also AI is being infused there in the TPCK. So PCK is very important to to get investigated for the teachers, how teachers this kind of PCK evolve with the the utilization of AI, and also we need also to support like how we still uh, like to focus on the student learning itself, like Mr. Nguyen already said that teachers is not replaced by this AI, but how it is possible that the teacher is still needed and student learns better and are getting optimized with this. So they should learn in a way that it is not being dependent on these tools, but they still can use it.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to Christopher. How does hearing this research evidence that's been presented by Mr. Wahid here kind of validate or even challenge, right, the strategic choices that you have actually made?
I think the research data is very interesting. I mean, it takes, skilled people with the time and the resources to do this research, and we don't have that ability in the schools. I think what the research is really telling us is that there is still a big difference between the operation and the potential. And even what the statistic about the subject studies were showing, I mean, about the subjects across which it's performing, is interesting because I'm a humanities teacher back in my training, but obviously the research seems to back up that it supports science and mathematics more. And that's interesting because the easy way to put this is in science, things are things. E does equal mc squared. End of discussion. ChatGPT isn't going to change that fact. But when it comes to humanities and languages, well, there's more nuance involved there. What it says about operationally is that how we deploy it across departments might become tricky. So in maths and science, you're going to get less argument and potentially less hallucination risk. But we're talking about humanities and linguistics, then there's bigger risks involved there. So what it's telling us is one size isn't going to fit all. And perhaps what I said earlier is I'm going to disagree with myself is that, yeah, putting everyone in one room and having this open conversation is going to present complexities because everyone's going to have a different operational idea and a different perspective of how to employ it. What I did find very interesting is actually the age gap, and saying the age gap in its deployment is basically non-existent. And that's interesting because I think when I was in school back some time ago in the north of Scotland, there was an age gap between teachers. And you could see, your teachers late career heading for retirement. They didn't care. They weren't going to change anything. They weren't interested in it. And then you got your newly brought up teachers who were invested in everything new and they would explore. And what's interesting to me here is that seems to have closed. That's not the reality anymore, is that everyone is to some degree equally invested and involved. But I think that's also a strength. So maybe we're going to see a harmonization across pedagogy and across the different generations of teaching and educational deployment that we've not seen before. So there's two there. So yeah, maybe the subject matter is going to become more despondent, but maybe the harmonization of generation will become closer together. So this is it. We don't know. I mean, that data is surprising. I mean, that's if I'd been told or asked before to predict the data, I would have probably gone the opposite way to that. But the data doesn't support that. So it's interesting how, like I said earlier, how the rubber is hitting the road is unexpected and it's changing.
Interesting, isn't it? But Wahid, listening to Christopher's real world constraints as well as where should the research community from your in terms of focusing their efforts to a more useful to practicing leaders, right? What do we need to study next? I mean, you
Well, there are a lot of things that we can explore with the use of this AI in educations. Like for instance, rarely research also focus on the efficient prompting from the students when we use the generative AI, and also how we set up the AI. So we can set up the AI by saying, don't give me the answer directly. I want you to be my learning partner, for instance. So when we set up this AI, student will not always get the direct answer from the AI. So which is this is good because when we can set up this environment, then it will not always give us the direct answers, and then it will give students like time to think and rethink. So this is what we do when we learn without AI. But when AI is like directly giving you the answer, and then the answer we need to be careful with their answer as well. We mentioned that the hallucinations, like this from this research, also from the same researchers that I have in these slides, that students realize that AI provide them the incorrect answers, but they rarely check it. They really try to complain to this AI, but they know that it is giving them like incorrect response. So we need further investigation on this area, how students can be prepared with this kind of situations, like because if they know but they didn't complain, or they didn't ask the AI to become better. But later AI will becoming better and better in this kind of content knowledge, but still it is very important to investigate, like to prepare them with a good prompting, good communications with AI.
I certainly face that challenge myself to question and challenge the responses from the AI responses that I get. But in the interest of time, of course, let's get practical with our peers here, both on site in Bangkok as well as streaming online. Based on both evidence, Pak Wahid, and of course, Christopher, from your experience as well, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to a teacher or a leader, specifically an education leader, to avoid costly missteps, right? I mean, from your view in their, in the journey of AI adoption. Christopher, maybe you'd like to share a bit
Yeah,
more?
I mean, I think the bottom line for this for me is actually quite simple. So yeah, engage honestly. Don't leave it in the cupboard. Don't leave it in the dark. Okay, let's be real. It's out there in the world. It's only growing. So as teachers, we're on the front line of protecting students and making sure they're armed for the world. So engage with it honestly. My second point, and this is a phrase I get very excited about, is prosecute the information. Okay, it's not always right. Be ready to be a subject matter expert. You're in charge. Prosecute the information and make sure it's accurate. And the final point would be prepare your students, okay, and prepare your classrooms. It's in there already. Whether we know it's in there or whether we don't know it's in there, it is in there. So prepare your students, okay? And if we engage with it honestly, prosecute the information, and prepare our students, then we can really turn it into a controllable tool for the future.
Pak Wahid, your response on that?
Okay, from the practical things, because teachers need to know how to use it properly, but they also need to understand the policy in their country, so in the region. So they need to ask for the policymaker, or the one who knows this policy in this country, because we need to protect our students as well, whether or not the policy is still available, it is permissible to use it or not, because this is the thing that we need to understand first, when it is permissible, and then they need to contact some experts to get the assistance how they can use it, while they also learned independently with this tool, because they are adult already. They are permitted to create accounts, so they can learn with that while they get the assistance from the researchers. And also, I believe that teachers also need to read research, because this is some cases that teachers do not read research publications. So they need also to read research publications, so they know what others have done. So if they have done it in that way, is it replicatable in my classrooms if I follow their methods, their sequences. So I believe teachers also need to read research papers.
Thank you, Pak Wahid. I would like to open the floor to questions, both here as well as online audience as well. So yeah, um, Chris, I believe.
Anyone in the room will be interested to ask some questions, maybe? Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Allow me to read my question. Does our current definition of plagiarism need to be fundamentally redesigned for a world where AI human co-creation is the professional norm? I repeat the question, sir. Does our current definition of plagiarism need to be fundamentally redesigned for a world where AI human co-creation is the professional norm?
That's an interesting question. I think Christopher, you can take this.
Yeah, every country I've spoken in, everywhere I've gone, I've heard this question. And to be honest, I don't have 100% of a mind myself. But what I'm going to say is actually, if we're okay, we're talking about schools, we're talking about education, and for this particular demographic, I'm going to say no. Um, why do we want our students to be just asking for their homework answers? Because if they copy and paste from ChatGPT, it might be ChatGPT's original work, but that at its core is still plagiarism. And if we change the definition of plagiarism, my fear is that inquiry-based learning and upper brain function goes out the door in an instant. If we say that deriving your answer and taking it from AI is not plagiarism, then we've got a big, big problem. So my opinion right now is current definitions of plagiarism should stand. Now I'm open to that changing in the future as we develop on this journey, but right now, no, plagiarism should remain as plagiarism.
Pak Wahid, do you have any response from that question?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Nguyens. Like, whatever we do when students solve or generate something with this AI, we need to be honest to acknowledge what we do with this AI. We need to acknowledge whether or not we use the AI, which AI, and then whatsoever. Because in research publication, also some of the journal publishers also we need to do some checklist whether or not we use AI to help us, even though it is to check grammar or to do something. We need to put these informations when we publish this into the journal publication. So this applies also to students when students solve something and with the help of AI, then it, for instance, homework. But test, we will not allow the test, even though we will have it in the future, maybe with the test that allows students to use AI, but the acknowledgement, we need to let them understand this basic principle, the thing that we cannot do with plagiarisms.
All right. So, in the interest of time, so we got one questions from the floor here, and we actually got one question as well online, asking, can AI really promote self-formation so that in education it can aid in the being and becoming of the students?
Christopher, you'd like to go with that?
I'm laughing because I got this exact question in Manila last month, almost precisely to the same wording. And my answer to that was no. AI, it's not a human. So why would we expect it to teach humans to be humans? I think I don't want to, dismiss the question, but it is a silly notion that computers can train humans. It's the other way around. Okay, humans training computers, and this is what I said earlier. Okay, human in the loop, teacher in control. We're not being replaced, and this comes to the basic human formative phase. Um, the younger you are, the more important the human formative phase is, and that's what teachers do. Teachers are humans. They build humans. They build the cognitive function. They build the whole human. Okay, and there's no way AI is ever going to be able to do that ever.
Thank you, Christopher. I do recall that question, so I was just smiling a little bit on that as we were in the same venue. But yeah, again, I think Chris and the organizers are actually saying we're pressing a little bit for time here. So just to recap on some of these goals here, I think number one, on actionable priority, right? Grounded in both in strategy and data. Number two, a support framework informed by research on what enables success. And thirdly, of course, a very, very balanced perspective on what? Eliminating the by empirical evidence, as we have seen here by Pak Wahid, on impact and risk. My profound thanks to both Christopher as well as Pak Wahid, who have joined us all the way from Austria in a very gravely hours. Again, thank you, Pak Wahid. I appreciate your time to share with all our audience here in Bangkok as well as online. And thank you for your engagement as well from the rest of you here in Bangkok and online. Of course, the conversation continues. Thank you so much and Kop Kun Kap.
Thank you.